So there was some teasing about that maybe we might see a different Harrison Wells.
Who is teasing that? One of these yokels? You can't listen, Gustin. You can't listen to anything Gustin says. You guys can't listen to anything Gustin says. I'm telling you. Oh, hey man. Hey man. Hey. Good to see you, Gav.
Yeah. So there's been some teasing here.
So that's the dynamic.
Yeah, that's the dynamic indeed. You say there's been some teasing here and there, and what can you say about the Harrison Wells? I mean, it's safe that it's not going to be the Earth 2 one at this point.
Or is it? I think you'll see Earth 2 at some point. I think you'll probably see different iterations. That's one of the lovely things about, not specifically my character, but generally this show, is like we're not really afraid to break the eggs. You know, I mean, when you do a long-running television show, first off, you're fortunate. You're extremely fortunate. It looks like this show is one of those. And one of the dangers, one of the things you have to protect yourself on a long-running show is simple repetition. And very early on this show, you know, we brought out Captain Cold, we brought out Grodd. We were clearly like not hoarding things for down the line should we need them. This part of the ethos of this show is like we're going to give you a comic book every week, and maybe they won't all be tremendous, but we're going to make an effort to make them as good as we can. And what I like about it is, you know, we're not the temptation to just repeat is not really what we do. Certainly we have necessarily a formula that we have to, you know, adhere to, but beyond that, we're like, we have like decades of mythology to get to. Let's get to them. And it's like, you know, in season 1 I looked like I was playing a really good guy when I was actually the worst guy, and the temptation could be like, let's keep doing that because that seemed to work. Instead, I'm thinking, let's do something different, and they're all for it. And I think that's, I wouldn't say necessarily rarity on a television show, but on a show that seems to do well, to just be gunning forth. Now we're entering into the Flashpoint territory, you know, and, you know, once we're done that, we're going to do something different. I like the fact that, you know, we're not afraid to sally forth. Like I say, not all these ventures are going to be successful, but they're going to be done with good heart.
You've really had the opportunity to play like 3 or 4 different characters on this show.
Yeah,
at least 4, right?
Yeah.
And going into Flashpoint, is this going to be another different character for you to play, or a different version of a character?
I think everything in Flashpoint is different. I mean, I know it's a general answer to the question, but Flashpoint, it's a reset button for everybody, even for Grant. You know, it's the relationship between him and Jesse, Joe West, a mother and father, and then, like, you know, in the comic certainly there's like wide-reaching repercussions to Flashpoint, which I think at some point, you know, we would be wise to just rip it up and get into it. What I like is on another show they might be like, oh, but we don't sit back. We're like, okay, let's look forward. And my character is an example of that. I think. Or my characters.
With the changes of Flashpoint coming in, there's a possibility of your daughter being Flash power. Yeah, how will that affect you? Like, will he be for it, against it, you think?
You know, here's what I think about that. I think, like, you know, germane to parenthood is the idea of protection, you know, and I think, you know, he's no different. I think last year what I used, I tried to portray him as this like antagonistic bitch, basically, you know, to everybody, and that what I used with that portrayal as insight to the fact that he might have a heart is his daughter. Like, that was the one fulcrum that literally pushed him forth to do all the stuff that he was doing. And, you know, like every parent, he has a tender heart for his children, and so part of that is maybe you want to keep your children under your wing, and I don't think that's going to be good for the conflict moving forward. I think she needs to get out from under his wing, but his position, I think, would be staunchly trying to protect her and fighting probably against the inevitable.
Which character has yours had the biggest dynamic, the biggest change going into Flashpoint?
Which character?
Like the dynamic
mine?
between your character and another one. Who do you think has changed the most coming into this new season?
It's a great question. I don't have an honest answer. I'd be largely picking one. Again, I sort of feel that, with that, everything changes. But then again, we run into that a lot. It's like, you can't go back. What the heck are you going to do? I'm going back. You can't. It'll screw everything up. It screws everything up. Let's fix it. How are we going to fix it? It's impossible. Oh, we fix it. Oh, no, look at that. Oh, no, there's another thing. One of the great things about the show, by the way, is when we have all these, things that were like, we opened up a breach to World 2 and we're having all these things happen and we're telling that story. We also have like a guy who can cause an earthquake coming in and causing shit everywhere. That's one of the great things about the show. It's like, we got this, but then it's like, I always think like, inherent in good drama is that conflict, but then also that conflict's like, what? Now they got a what? You know what I mean? Like, oh, the boat sank. Great. Now we got to get out of the water too and solve the problem. So, yeah, that's what we do. It's fun.
Were you impressed with what the production was able to do with King Shark? Because I thought that was pretty amazing to see.
Yeah, I honestly thought that was a potential misstep for us, only because of if we don't pull this off, you'll have a field day with the whole jumping the shark motif. It's like, it writes itself. Those idiots over there at the Flash, And I think that you have to be aware of that when you're doing these effects. And I thought it was impressive. I think the thing where I was most stunned came along with Grodd, where it's like, okay, that's such a big part of the ethos, and how do you pull that off? And Armin and the guys in the effects team that did King Shark, I remember seeing a rough cut, and he's like, oh, and we still have to add this layer of effect and this layer of effect for when in and out of the water, and this is the domain of big screen stuff. It very much used to be, and we couldn't do our show without it, because you can't have a show about speed without speed effect, And they do that so well. But I remember when Grodd came out, and Jesse Martin was in the sewers with him, Grodd, like banana, and that looked like the stuff that I grew up with, the Dino De Laurentiis purveyor of King Kong. It's like, it was, the effects were stunning to me on a small screen, no less. And the fact that we're generally not asking the audience, like, okay, now we're going to do, he's climbing the tower, but can you just imagine that he's climbing the tower? And because it's not going to look great, but that used to be what you look at the effects in Star Trek and all those kind of things, like, okay, but here, I remember that Grodd thing, to me, I just made me like, well, I'm a part of that. They can do that. There was a plane crash with the Weather Wizard, the brothers, that was extremely visceral. And I thought, yeah, again, that used to be the domain of big screen effects, and now the budget is such and the technology is such that we can do that on a small screen. And, it's such a huge component of the show. It's a lovely marriage of those things.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.